week. Now, this is out of CNN Business, and it's all about this 5G thing. I'll read from this, and then we'll talk about it. Potentially abysmal air travel interruptions were narrowly avoided this week when wireless carriers made a last-minute change to their planned 5G rollout in response to fears that new cell service towers could interfere with a key component on passenger jets that allows them safely to land in low visibility conditions. Okay, you just go by that, but you think, no, that's when you need this stuff the most, folks. I mean, to safely land in low visibility conditions. Warnings of mass flight cancellations came as AT&T, Verizon, and the airline industry hashed out a deal to delay 5G deployment around major airports. And that's key. We're talking about a delay. And on Thursday, the Federal Aviation Administration cleared a greater number of commercial airliners to fly in the situations where pilots consider possible 5G interference to be the most dangerous. Now, nearly 80% of the United States' entire commercial airliner fleet has that clearance. Okay, that sounds good, but Captain, I got a sense by reading through this and following this topic, this is far from resolved at this point.
That's true. This has been going on for several years, and the telecom industry had not ever previously been asked for this sort of data. And because of that, they were reluctant on a proprietary basis to provide it, where the FAA and the aviation industry was interested or really required the fact that to prove that there would not be an interference with the radar altimeters in airliners and in business jets. So it was a pretty complex problem. Fortunately, the telecom industry finally realized what was going on and agreed to delay it, which lets the tests of those radar altimeters go on to see how likely they are to actually be affected. And now about 85% of the fleet has been found to be okay. The other 15%, it's going to be problematic, and it is going to probably result in some flight disruptions at some times. But all the experts are working through it. So it's a matter of just giving them the time to do that.
Now, you're all about safety and testing, obviously. So you're saying that 80 or 85% of these planes have been tested, and you're confident that those tests show they're not going to have a problem with this 5G issue?
The relatively few manufacturers, I think there's about 4 that produce most of these devices, these radar altimeters, and they've been able to test those models against 5G interference at the power levels that are being used in the U.S., which is one of the key elements. 5G has been implemented in about 40 countries, but typically at lower power than we're using in the United States. And they have areas that are protected around airports just to prevent this. So it's all the Boeing airplanes and all the Airbus airplanes have now been cleared as that they should not be affected. There are continuous notices to airmen that are out that say, if you experience an anomaly on an approach to a runway, you are to report it. And that would trigger another round of investigations. But so far, we have not seen that. Okay,
so people hear that term radar altimeter. They don't know what that means. Put yourself in the cockpit here for a second. Let's say you're coming in for a landing at an airport that has extremely reduced visibility. Tell us what these things are and what you're doing with them as you land.
Well, there's a couple of things. What the device does is it sends a pulse of energy down and bounces it off the ground and comes back up to a receiver in the airplane. And with the time that it takes for that to happen, you can very accurately determine the height above the ground that the airplane is. So in very low visibility conditions, you use this because you normally would make an automatic landing. And so the autopilot would then determine at what point to start flaring the airplane and to reducing the power. In addition to some of the airplanes also, as they get within about 5 feet of the ground, they open valves to allow the reversers to be available because you want those closed in flight. So there's a lot of things that aircraft use, this pulse of energy that it sends down to the ground and comes back to determine very accurately how far above the ground you are. So it's an important device in modern jet airliners.
On the testing and the potential issues with the 5G interference, what happens to the altimeter? Does it go black? Does it get erratic? Does it come back? What's happened in the past? Oh, there's the dogs. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the dog. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Some of the testing have shown the potential for interference where the airplane thinks it's at 300 feet when in fact it's at like 75 feet.
Oh, so God.
Yeah. So that's not really very good. So no. it could cause, in low visibility conditions, the airplane to flare at an inappropriate height or to reduce power inappropriately. And the pilots would be there to monitor it, but the idea that in low visibility, this is not something you would want to have happen. Now, the question, these frequencies, they do have some padding in there, and it's just how susceptible the receivers are to this transmission on the 5G spectrum. And that's what they've been able to test, that the filters in the receivers are adequate. And that's what they have found in most cases.